What's going on, boys? It's day number 2 of reading through the book of Philippians. It is currently 11:45 at night when I'm recording this, so I'm going to try to make this a pretty quick video just because I've had a heck of a day, man. But I want to get this in. Got up this morning, got a good workout in, then worked a little bit over 11 hours at my job. But I'm here. So I apologize if I look really sleepy or have baggy eyes. It's been a long day, man. But we're here, and we're going to cover Philippians 2, and we're going to get through this together. So we're going to be looking at 3 sections for today. Just some great words that Paul uses to explain, again, more about what we should do in our everyday actions about having Christ in ourselves. The first section is going to be talking about imitating Christ's humility, and then we're going to jump into do everything without grumbling. So it's kind of going to be like, do everything without hesitation or without any form of argument. And then finally, we're going to look at two men, Timothy and Epaphroditus. So these 2 men that Paul is going to send to the people of Philippi to kind of continue growing that relationship and those people and the believers overall as more and more people come to Christ. So for the first section, I want to particularly take it one set of verses that I believe can cover the whole thing. And that's going to be verses 3 through 5. So the Apostle Paul says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Do your relationships with one another have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. And it actually breaks it up into Paul writes it out as almost like a set of set details or set steps in a row of how God made Christ, how Christ was made to be this individual that wasn't only just, a human with us, but he was also, God in the flesh. He was also this holy and good individual that was able to come in human likeness and able to share these characteristics with us to help us understand who God is and how he thrives and goes about making his presence known to people, and how he, was willing to give himself for us and be that person that we can come to and that people would bow to him and give him praise because of how good he is and how much, love he has and the things that he does for us. So one of the things I wrote down, it says, do not be driven by self-will and desire. So don't let, these, inner thoughts and these things that are coming from your head, don't let them be the reason why that's why you have to go in that direction. Wrestle with these thoughts, pray about them, write them down, look at them and just be like, man, like I'm just fighting through these many different, thoughts about maybe my friendships or my work or my school or about things in my past. Like I don't know what to do. Like I'm fighting these so many thoughts, and I don't know how to embrace them. I don't know how to, really move forward from them. If anything else, that's what we want. We want to move forward. And then also kind of covering that second part of really verse 4. I said, we should look out for others and work to have the mindset of Christ in everything that we do. So we should be aware of our surroundings because we're all human. Our job is to, be rulers of the earth, but our other job is to, take care of each other. The other thing is that, every time, someone gets injured, you look at, these famous, athletes today. So you look at maybe football, baseball, basketball, soccer, stuff like that. You look at these famous sports, when someone gets injured, everybody chimes in. The whole team, even the opposing team chimes in, whether it's someone playing football and they fall and they sprain their ankle, or someone in baseball and they get hit by a pitch or whatever. Everybody chips in because you will come together as a group to surround that person struggling, to say, hey, we've got your back. We will help you as you recover. We will help you get back up on your feet to keep going. And that's the kind of mindset we need to have. That's the kind of mindset that Christ has for us. We should remain with a group of people that will help build us stronger and make us into individuals that God has called us to be, because those people that speak to us and tell us these things, that's what's going to bring out that version that God has created from the beginning. That's not about what you do or about what you think is right. It's about what other people can, say to you, what they can, put this honesty and truth into your life. That's how God is able to, really reveal that inner self that he created within you, that Christ is able to live and thrive within you, that he's able to become the seed planted in your heart. He's able to sprout into all different kinds of branches in every single direction of your body, to where next thing you know, you're a totally different person. Even though you may look the same on the outside, I promise you on the inside, deep down in your core, you are a changed person, a much changed person. And that's what it means to follow the mindset of Christ. So, section 2, we're going to be covering, it's actually titled, Do Not Do Everything Without Grumbling. This particular set of verses that I highlighted is a bit of way of understanding this. Verses 13 through 14, Paul says, For it is God who works in you to will and act in order to fulfill his good purpose. Do everything without grumbling or arguing. So it is God who makes things occur in our lives. It's not just about self-luck or things just happen out of a certain coincidence. It is God working in us. It is him, putting in his time, putting things together. It is him. And that's what it means. And we shouldn't be mad at this. We shouldn't disobey what he's doing for us, because what he's doing for us, even though it may not make sense right now, or it may seem confusing, or you're looking at this and you're like, well, it's this way, but it's not, it should be this way, or, it's supposed to be that way, but it's that way. I don't get it. But oftentimes it's like, well, maybe it starts this way and it starts to curve back and go this way. Or maybe it starts this way and eventually it starts to get into that position that it's supposed to be. So it's more of a, okay, we're going to start at, point A, instead of trying to go all the way to point, P, we have to, start at point A and then go to B and then to C and all the way down. You take one step at a time with Christ. And we shouldn't get mad at that. Things may seem frustrating, yes, but that's where we have to ask Christ, like, okay, like I know I'm frustrated and I shouldn't be frustrated at your thoughts, but I can't help me to understand what I'm missing. And the benefits of this are very tremendous. And Paul explains this in a little section that's actually at the end of verse 15 and at the start of verse 16, where he says, Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky as you hold firmly of the word of life. So, having full faith and trust in the Lord sets you apart to become a living child of God. So, it's one thing to have, a certain thought, well, I believe God. But it's another thing to have his trust and to really have that firm connection to say that you are a child of God, that you have, laid your old self is laid to rest, and that you are living by the Spirit, and that you are following his commands, and you are listening, and you are doing what is best because Christ is in you, and you are being filled with his presence, and you are able to understand and hear God directly speak to you and say, I want you to go and, help this person. I want you to go to preach to this person. I want you to go, do this with your job or do this with your community. Like, I want you to go do this and this, which will lead to this. We have to do something to be able to lead somewhere. The leadership that we are called to do isn't something by coincidence. It's not something that just happens just based off of pure, luck. Again, it's not something that just happens out of nowhere. Our works and our matters make sense, and they will pay off, and they will help us to grow as individuals. And that's what's important, is that we should use those times of listening, and those times of prayer, and those times of reading, just like we are doing right now. We should use this to help us understand, okay, this is what I need to be doing. This is what I need to be reading every day. You might be able to see right there, I bought a whiteboard from Walmart the other day. And, originally, I was going to use it for my class, and I probably still will. But I don't know if you can see it, but I actually have a verse written on it. It's Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And I also have it at the bottom, yeah, buddy. So, I think having a quote by my door every day is very good, to be able to, walk out and look up and see that quote. And I think I'm going to probably change the verse every day to the word of the day that I get in my Bible app. It's just the Holy Bible. You can download it. It's free. It'll send you notification for the daily verse. And I also have Yeah Buddy, just because it's a thing that I say a lot when I work out. And a buddy of mine is, really, he's very valued that phrase. And as some of you may say, well, that's, said by Ronnie Coleman, and it is. But I think having those little words of motivation is a good reminder every time I, stand up and I turn around from my chair, or when I'm about to walk out of my door, maybe to go to class or go to work or just go get something to eat. I think it's just very good to have that, right there, where it's, right in my face. Like, so when I'm opening the door, I look up and it's right there. Like, you can't ignore it. It's right there. And it's bringing me to my last section, talking about these two men that Paul is going to kind of share. And I won't share their whole story just because I don't want to be sitting here forever talking about them. But, we've heard a little bit about Timothy. Some of you may know Timothy. He's got his own chapters towards the end of the Bible, so feel free to go there and read about his story. We're reading about Timothy and Epaphroditus. So in particular, we're going to talk a little bit more about Epaphroditus and his journey. But first, I want to take a look at verse 21, where it's kind of a rephrase of back at the beginning in verses 3 through 5. And Paul says in 21, he says, "For everyone looks out for their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ." So, while it is good to take care of yourself and to, maybe take care of your health, take care of your, essential needs, getting yourself to, from point A to point B, getting yourself from home to work or home to school or, to your, annual doctor's appointment or something like that. We must consider that love embraces all and not one. Love is something that isn't just given to us to be consumed and, not shared. Love is given to us to be comprehended and then sent back. There's a phrase that I'm sure a lot of you have grown up with, and I know I have grown up with it a lot, and you may have heard it in school, and maybe some people may say it's corny, but I don't really think it is. And it's treat everybody the way you want to be treated. And I want you to, say that in your head a few times. And one thing you'll notice is that when you say it, you really start to understand, like, man, if I just treated this person with like just a little bit more respect, what would the response be? Or maybe if I didn't say these things, or maybe if I, asked these questions, maybe if I just stopped, assuming, or stopped, judging, or stopped being angry, or stopped, laughing, what if I said this? And I know that's something that I have to get better with in my life, but I know that, when I speak better, terms to people, it does create a reaction that is very wholesome, and a lot of people feel overwhelmed by it because they're not used to that. They're not used to that sort of respect or, just conversations. So just remember that, you're human. We're all human. We each have the power to praise and curse. So just remember, just because you say one thing doesn't mean someone else can't say something back to you, or even something worse. We all have the power to speak what we want, do what we want, based off of how we feel. But being a follower of Christ, the important thing to understand is that, we don't speak to try and shame other people or try to discourage people. We speak to help people and to save people from that destruction that they are in because of where we were. We see that. And that puts that feeling in our hearts to where we're like, I don't want to just, have this experience to myself. I want to share this with people. I want to help other people who are struggling. I want to be that encouraging person. And then my last verse is verse 29 through 30. We're talking about Epaphroditus and his journey. And it's just these two verses really kind of cover, what he has gone through and why he, is so an important figure to the people of Philippi and just the Jews overall. Paul says, "So then welcome him in the Lord with great joy and honor people like him because he almost died for the work of Christ. He risked his life to make up for the help you yourselves could not give me." So, we should be grateful for the work our brothers and sisters have gone through to get right, with Christ, to get right with themselves, to get right with their families. We should be grateful for that. Don't ever discourage someone because they've done these things in the past and now they're a different person. Like, be grateful that God has worked in them, that God can do immaculate things, He can do miracles, that God can change someone's life like that. That's all it takes. All it takes is one thing, and your life is changed. So be aware of those moments. Take opportunities when they come at you, and don't let someone try and hold you to your ground, because I promise you, you have the ability to put your foot wherever you plant it, and you can plant it in any direction that you want. But be careful, because the direction you put it in will lead you down a path that you may not know where it's going to happen. And sometimes you have to take a few steps before you realize, okay, do I want to continue, or do I want to, go in the wall? Do I want to, submerge my feet down? Do I want to go to my knees? Do I want to keep going, or do I want to go back? Or do I want to stop and repent and follow the way of life, the path of life? And that is the end of today's word. I know that would be a short video, and we're 16 minutes in. But just reading over these, it just keeps you talking, man. It's currently midnight. So I hope you guys had a great week. I hope you guys are having a great day whenever you're watching this. And I hope to see you guys very soon. Peace out, boys.